Hello, this is Algebra 7.4. We'll be talking about solving polynomial equations in factored form. And that might sound a little bit confusing, but we'll go through each of the parts to make it a little bit easier. The first thing that you need to know is what a polynomial in factored form is. So a polynomial in factored form is a polynomial that's written as the product of two or more other polynomials. So since a polynomial in factored form would be the product, that means multiplying of polynomials, something like this, x times x minus 6. That's a polynomial in factored form. Yes, you could distribute x to the x and the negative 6, but you actually don't want to put the polynomial in factored form. I could have the product of two binomials, x plus 3 times 2x minus 7. That's a polynomial in factored form. It could be the product of three polynomials as well. 3x minus 1 times 4x plus 12 times 18x minus 4. That's a polynomial in factored form as well. And then the second thing that you needed to know to be able to solve a polynomial equation in factored form is what's known as the zero product property. So the zero product property states the following. If a times b is equal to 0, or in other words, you're multiplying two things together and they equal 0, one of them must be 0. Either a equals 0 or b equals 0. I could actually extend the zero product property and say if a times b times c, so you'd be multiplying three things together and they equal 0, then one of them has to be 0. A equals 0, b equals 0, or c equals 0. And then we'll use the zero product property to help solve polynomial equations in factored form. So now I want to solve equations that are already in factored form. I want to solve each equation, which means I want to solve or find the value of the variable. So number 1, it's x times a quantity x minus 5 equals 0. Be careful. Some people will say, well, okay, we just did this. I can distribute. You're actually undoing something that's already done for you. You want the equation to be in factored form. X times a quantity x minus 5 equals 0. So we're multiplying x by x minus 5, and then the product is 0. So in order to solve this, we're actually using the zero product property. Since we're multiplying these two things together and they equal 0, one of them has to be equal to 0. So we could say either x equals 0, and that's already solved for us, or x minus 5 equals 0. That's using the zero product property. This is already solved. The variable is already isolated. This is not solved. This should be a very easy equation to solve. We add 5 to each side. X is equal to 5. So we actually have two possible solutions, either x equals 0 or x is equal to 5. And it's actually or, it's not and. X can't be two things at the same time, either x equals 0 or x equals 5. If I substituted in 0 for x, I'm just going to substitute to check each answer one at a time. If x equals 0, this part 0, then this part would be 0 minus 5, negative 5. 0 times negative 5 is 0. So 0 checks. If I substitute in 5 for x, 5 minus 5 is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. So this checks as well. And then on the second example, this is already in factored form. X minus 3 times x plus 9, that's a product of polynomials. It's equal to 0. So to solve this, I'm going to set each of the factors equal to 0. That's using the zero product property. Either x minus 3 is equal to 0, and we'll solve that in a second, or x plus 9 is equal to 0. Since we're multiplying these two things together and they equal 0, one of them must be equal to 0. To solve the first equation, add 3 to each side. X equals 3. And then to solve the second equation, subtract 9 from each side. X is equal to negative 9. And those are my two solutions. Either x equals 3 or x is equal to negative 9. And believe me, they actually both check.